Before we dive into this latest sci-fi epic, drop a quick hi in the comments. It may seem small, but trust me, it really helps YouTube share this story with more sci fans like us. I'd love to see who's watching.
The Cathar Confederation Grand Survey and Resource Acquisition Vessel Prudence was, by any objective galactic standard, a masterpiece of rational design. Its sleek, multifaceted hull, composed of hyperdense alloys precisely layered according to stringent Cathar engineering principles, slid through the void with silent, calculated efficiency. Currently, that void was the Serpent Nebula, a region universally flagged on navigational charts with pictograms indicating certain doom, questionable life choices, and seriously, turn back now. On the bridge, Captain Xylar maintained its customary command poise, a complex balancing act involving 6 limbs, precise muscle control, and an unwavering adherence to the Cathar Command Decorum Mandate 7.4b, posture subsection. Its 4 primary optical stalks swept across the holographic displays, each processing different data streams, navigational hazards, energy field stability, crew efficiency metrics, and the precise temperature of its nutrient paste dispenser, optimal, 3.7 degrees Celsius above ambient. The bridge was a symphony of quiet competence, bathed in the cool, logical blue light favored by Cathar aesthetics, punctuated only by the soft clicks and hums of perfectly maintained systems. The Serpent Nebula wasn't just dangerous, it was offensively chaotic. Remnants of supernovae mingled with unstable dark matter pockets, creating gravitational tides that defied conventional prediction and plasma streams hot enough to peel the hull off lesser vessels like a Terran fruit. Entering it was, for most species, unthinkable. But the Cathar were not most species. They were the Cathar, logical, meticulous, risk-averse yet ruthlessly opportunistic. Deep space probes, cross-referenced with fragmented data salvaged from a derelict library drone orbiting a collapsed star, a mission detailed in a 300-page risk assessment report, strongly indicated the presence of the Stellar Forge. This pre-Federation mining behemoth, lost centuries ago, was rumored to contain a cargo hold filled almost entirely with Zitanium or, a substance so rare and vital for advanced hyperdrive cores that its market value could fund the Cathar Confederation's entire sanitation budget for 3 standard cycles. The potential profit margin, calculated to 7 decimal places, justified the meticulously calculated risk. Sector 7G transit proceeding, announced Subcommander Torvin from navigation, its voice a model of Cathar monotone composure. Torvin's carapace was immaculate, reflecting the bridge lights without distortion. Its manipulators moved with hypnotic precision over the controls. Plasma density fluctuations remain within the 98th percentile of predicted models. Minor course correction implemented to avoid gravimetric eddy designation 7G alpha rho. Particle shield efficiency holding at 99.87%. Estimated time to target coordinates, 3.68 standard hours. Acknowledged, Subcommander, Xylar resonated, the ship's translator rendering the complex Cathar phonemes into flat galactic standard. Maintain Level 4 vigilance protocols. This region is notorious for exceeding predictive models precisely when complacency sets in. Assume the unexpected is not only possible, but statistically probable within the next operational cycle. Xylar still felt the phantom vibrations from the KZRT Nebula incident, where an unexpected rogue comet swarm had nearly turned the Prudence into very expensive scrap metal. Complacency was illogical. Aye, Captain. Vigilance protocols engaged, Torvin confirmed, its focus absolute. Across the bridge, Communications Officer Zorp adjusted its sensor array feeds. Zorp was younger, its carapace still bearing the slightly brighter sheen of recent molting. Occasionally, one of its optical stalks would linger fractionally too long on a particularly spectacular nebula formation, a flicker of inefficient curiosity that Xylar noted for Zorp's next performance review. Ambient energy readings stable, Captain. High background radiation consistent with Class 4 plasma storm activity, but no coherent transmissions detected. Standby. Zorp tilted its head segment, manipulating the filters. Correction. Detecting faint, intermittent signal. Low frequency band. Repeating tripulse pattern. Confirmed as Terran Standard Distress Beacon, Maritime Designation SOS. A collective, almost imperceptible stiffening went through the Cathar bridge crew. Terrans. The galaxy's chaotic variable. The species that had somehow weaponized caffeine, irony, and adhesive tape. Born on a planet that actively tried to exterminate them daily through volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, apex predators, and creatures small enough to kill you from the inside out, they possessed a biology that defied Cathar medical science. Their immune systems were described in one Cathar xenological study as aggressively paranoid, and a psychology that was, frankly, baffling. They experienced emotions, unpredictable chemical cascades that led to illogical behaviors ranging from self-sacrifice to planetary-scale warfare, often over abstract concepts like honor or who gets the last donut. Source coordinates. Xylar asked, keeping its voice perfectly modulated. Dealing with Terrans required maximum adherence to protocol, lest one become entangled in their peculiar brand of chaos. Localizing. Zorp manipulated the directional sensors. Source is a small vessel, estimated length 72.3 meters. Configuration matches obsolete Terran Hammerhead-class salvage tug. Minimal energy signature detected, consistent with emergency life support systems only. Primitive fission-fusion drive core appears inert. Zorp projected a flickering holographic icon onto the main display, a blocky, unaesthetic shape. Current position. Captain, the vessel is located directly within the primary convective flow of plasma stream designation Kilo 9. Environmental hazard analysis indicates hull dissolution should be occurring at a rate of approximately 3.7 centimeters per standard minute. Xylar focused two optical stalks on the tactical display. The Terran ship was tumbling slowly in the heart of the densest, most corrosive part of the immediate sector. A place the Prudence, with its advanced shielding, was carefully skirting. Hull integrity assessment. Scanning. Readings are anomalous, Captain, Zorp reported, a hint of Cathar confusion, a rare and discouraged state, entering its voice. External hull shows extreme pitting, radiation burns, and micrometeoroid impacts consistent with centuries of neglect, let alone exposure to Kilo 9. However, internal structural integrity remains unexpectedly high. Minimal atmospheric leakage detected. Sensor resolution is limited by plasma interference, but it appears structurally sound. Impossible, Xylar thought. Unless Terran duct tape? Preliminary analysis suggests the substance possesses paradoxical adhesive properties and tensile strength inconsistent with its simple polymer structure. Further research pending acquisition of uncontaminated samples. Life signs. Affirmative. 4 distinct Terran biosignatures. Vital signs are significantly suppressed, low metabolic rate, reduced neural activity. Consistent with emergency hibernation or extreme power conservation protocols. But they are stable. A genuine distress call, then. In arguably the worst possible location. Rescue would involve deviating course directly into the Kilo 9 stream, stressing the Prudence's shields, consuming valuable energy reserves, delaying the primary mission, and, worst of all, requiring direct interaction with the Terrans. The mission parameters were explicit: retrieve the Zitanium, minimize risk, avoid unnecessary entanglements. The Cathar principle of logical self-preservation superseded the vague, inefficient galactic notion of universal aid. Log the vessel's position, classification, and status, Xylar commanded, the decision clear and logical. Transmit a standard galactic hazard advisory bulletin on Terran emergency frequencies, detailing the extreme dangers of plasma stream Kilo 9. We maintain current course and velocity. Proceed to primary objective. Duty required logging, it did not require collective suicide. Torvin, without comment, adjusted their trajectory, increasing the safety margin around the hazardous stream. The bridge returned to its state of quiet, focused operation. The Terran problem was logged, warned, and logically bypassed. The logic lasted precisely 4.7 standard minutes. Red alert klaxons shrieked, bathing the bridge in pulsating crimson light, a color Cathar found physiologically jarring and highly motivating. Gravimetric shear event. Torvin shouted, its voice losing its monotone quality for the first time. Rapid, spontaneous formation, shear plane vector, intersects the Terran vessel's position directly. Magnitude classified as catastrophic, projecting total structural disintegration of the Terran vessel in 17.4 standard seconds. The main viewscreen showed the space around the tumbling Terran wreck twisting like tortured metal. Reality itself seemed to ripple. The Prudence, even at a distance, felt the tidal forces tugging at its inertial dampeners. Xylar automatically braced itself, reviewing emergency protocols. None covered watching an inferior vessel get shredded by space-time. "They're powering up," Zorp shrieked, optical stalks dilated to maximum aperture. "Main drive activation. Energy readings. Captain, they are exceeding theoretical limits for that class of fusion core by over 1,200%. Containment field readings are non-existent. It's an uncontrolled reaction. They're going to detonate." But the rusty bucket didn't detonate. It moved. Not with the elegant precision of a Cathar thruster, but with the explosive fury of a poorly aimed firework. A jagged spear of incandescent blue-white flame, flickering and spitting exotic particles, erupted from its stern. The ship didn't accelerate, it jumped sideways, a brutal, instantaneous translation that defied Newtonian physics as the Cathar understood them. It slammed into the leading edge of the warping space, shedding chunks of its outer hull like a molting crustacean, and somehow rode the gravimetric wave. Raw, unshielded fusion exhaust, thick with radioactive isotopes and particles the Prudence's sensors couldn't even identify, washed across their forward shields, making them scream in protest and draining power reserves at an alarming rate. Then, just as the spatial coordinates it had occupied moments before collapsed into a singularity of grinding energy that winked out of existence, the Terran ship shot clear. It tumbled end over end into a relatively calmer patch of nebula, trailing debris and flickering emergency lights, but miraculously intact. A silence descended on the Prudence's bridge, thicker and more profound than the vacuum outside. Torvin slowly worked the controls, stabilizing their ship from the gravitational eddies and the lingering radiation wash. Zorp stared at the sensor display, its manipulators frozen above the console. The Terran ship's drive signature plummeted back to near zero, though dozens of critical hull breach warnings now flashed on Zorp's display for the bucket. "By the sacred algorithms," Xylar whispered, the translation failing to capture the depth of Cathar disbelief. "That maneuver. It is not possible. The G-forces alone should have liquefied the occupants. The engine's stress, catastrophic failure was the only logical outcome. The navigational computation required to utilize a catastrophic shear event for propulsion, it requires precognitive abilities or technology centuries beyond their known capabilities." Before any Cathar could formulate a hypothesis involving temporal paradoxes or collective hallucination, a voice crackled through the main speakers, bypassing all standard communication protocols and sounding as if it originated from inside a metal barrel being hit with a wrench. "Yeehaw! Did you see that, Lenny? Threaded the needle. Woo! Hey, Big Shiny, you still there? That was a close one, eh? Nearly scratched our paint." The voice was cheerful, breathless, and utterly devoid of the sheer terror any sane being should be experiencing. Xylar signaled Zorp, who hesitantly established a formal comms channel, filtering out the worst of the static. "Terran vessel Rusty Bucket, this is Cathar survey ship Prudence. Acknowledge. Your recent transit was extraordinarily reckless and registered multiple violations of the Galactic Code of Safe Navigation, Section 9, subsections 12 through 47. Reckless. Section 9. Sounds boring. The voice laughed, a sound like rocks in a grinder. Name's Eva Rostova, captain of this fine vessel. That wasn't reckless, that was Tuesday. Gotta know how to dance with the big waves out here. Say, you folks look kinda lost. Big fancy ship like yours, all alone in the spooky nebula. Engine trouble? Life support on the fritz. Need a tow? We got space-rated rope. Xylar felt an unfamiliar sensation, later identified through medical database cross-referencing as an urge to commit precise, targeted violence. A tow, offered by this collection of barely cohering scrap metal that had just surfed a space-time anomaly, to the Prudence, pride of the Cathar fleet, pinnacle of logical design. The sheer, unadulterated ignorance was staggering. Negative, Captain Rostova, Xylar replied, forcing its vocal modulator to maintain a calm frequency. The Prudence is fully operational. We were observing your precarious situation. Your vessel appears to have sustained critical damage and requires immediate withdrawal to a designated repair facility. Damage? Nah, she's just expressing herself. Muffled sounds came from the Terran bridge, shouting, a clang, something that sounded suspiciously like a duck call. Hang on. Lenny, did you use the emergency hull sealant on the coffee machine again? I told you that stuff ain't food grade. What? It stopped the leak. Well, fine, but how are we gonna make coffee now? Use the reactor coolant loop? Don't be stupid. Okay, fine, maybe just a little. Eva's voice came back on. Sorry about that. Minor domestic dispute. Anyway, what brings a shiny behemoth like you out to the galactic backalley? Sightseeing. Our mission objectives are classified under Cathar Confederation Directive 78 Gamma, Xylar stated, shutting down the inefficient conversational tangent. We strongly advise you vacate this hazardous region immediately. Your vessel's structural integrity is compromised. Vacate. We just pulled off the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs. Wait, wrong franchise. Point is, we just got here. Besides, Eva's voice lowered conspiratorially, word is there's some prime salvage nearby. Old ship called the Stellar Forge Asterisk. Supposed to be loaded with Zitanium. Gotta pay the bills, you know? Fuel slugs ain't cheap, especially the non-exploding kind. Asterisk. Zitanium. They knew. These maniacs were after the same prize. Xylar's carefully ordered universe tilted slightly. Before it could calculate the optimal response, options ranged from stern warning to disabling their engines with a precisely targeted particle beam. Every single alarm system on the Prudence erupted simultaneously, louder and more insistent than before. Energy signature, colossal magnitude, off the primary sensor scale. Zorp shrieked, abandoning all pretense of Cathar composure. Its manipulators flew across the console. Pattern matches Class 5 Void Predator, Bioenergy Matrix designation, Nebula Kraken, it's manifesting, directly off the port bow. Proximity, critical. The viewscreen filled with swirling chaos coalescing into terrifying form. Larger than a Cathar dreadnought, the Nebula Kraken wasn't truly physical, but a localized knot of spacetime and raw energy drawn from the nebula itself. Tentacles of pure, crackling lightning, kilometers long, unfurled like cosmic whips, probing the void. Its body was a shifting vortex of impossible colors that induced nausea and data errors in the optical sensors. It radiated an aura of ancient, predatory hunger that bypassed logic and struck directly at primal Cathar survival instincts. Battle stations. Xylar snapped, ingrained training taking over. Shields to maximum power, divert auxiliary reactors, charge primary defensive capacitors, helm, plot immediate tactical withdrawal, maximum possible velocity, evasive pattern Delta 7. Cathar doctrine against Class 5 entities was simple. Run. Hide. Pray to the great algorithm. Direct confrontation was statistically unsurvivable. Their most powerful weapons might annoy it, but the Kraken could rewrite the physical laws around them at whim. Plotting withdrawal, hampered by localized gravimetric distortions generated by the entity, Torvin reported, its voice tight. Maximum safe velocity is insufficient to guarantee escape. It's closing. One of the Kraken's energy tentacles lashed out, striking the Prudence's forward shield. The impact felt like a physical blow. Power levels plummeted by 12%. Warning icons flared across every console like angry red stars. Whoa there, Sparky. Eva Rostova's voice cut through the rising Cathar panic, impossibly casual. Easy does it. Don't run. Running just makes em hangry. That there's Calamari Carl. Bit of a grump, especially before his morning nebula juice. You have named this entity, Xylar demanded, momentarily forgetting the imminent destruction of its vessel. The Terran capacity for anthropomorphing cosmic horrors was deeply disturbing. Named him? Heck, we play poker with him every third Tuesday. Okay, maybe not. But we know his type. Doesn't like strangers barging into his feeding ground, especially shiny ones flashing their fancy shields. But hey, we got a way to distract him. It ain't pretty, might violate a few galactic health codes, but it usually works. Distractor being capable of manipulating space-time with, what, precisely? Xylar's skepticism was a tangible force on the bridge. Terran, your assessment of the situation is fundamentally, catastrophically flawed. Flawed? Probably. Fun? Definitely. Hey Lenny, Eva yelled away from the comms unit again. Fire up the boombox. Max volume. And prepare the special sauce dispenser. Let's give Carl a little indigestion. A muffled, enthusiastic rock and roll, capen, followed by the distinct sound of something heavy falling over. Okay, Xylar, my Cathar compadre. Plug your earholes, antennae, whatever you use for hearing. This is gonna get loud, proud, and profoundly weird. Before Xylar could issue a single logical command or even process the absurdity of special source, the rusty bucket executed its next maneuver. Multiple ports on its battered hull opened, venting not plasma, not coolant, but a bizarre, shimmering cloud. Sensors struggled to analyze it, fine metallic chaff, particles of synthetic polymer, and, yes, confirmed olfactory signature matched decomposing Terran foodstuffs, primarily fermented cabbage and expired cheese analogues. Simultaneously, the Terran ship unleashed a sonic assault. Not a focused beam, but a wide-spectrum wave of pure, unadulterated noise. Complex, asynchronous rhythms pounded against a wall of distorted, multi-tracked string instruments played at extreme volume, overlaid with guttural Terran vocalizations that the universal translator struggled with, finally settling on painful noise genre, Terran death metal lyrical content, incomprehensible screaming. The effect on the Nebula Kraken was instantaneous and utterly baffling. The colossal entity froze its attack on the Prudence. Its kilometers-long energy tentacles twitched, retracting slightly as if recoiling from something unpleasant. The swirling vortex of its core flickered violently, the colors shifting from terrifying cosmic rainbow to agitated migraine aura. It turned its immense, non-physical attention towards the tiny, ridiculously loud, garbage-spewing Terran ship. It didn't seem angry anymore. It seemed profoundly irritated, confused, possibly offended by the musical taste. See? Eva's voice crackled triumphantly over the sonic chaos. Carl's a classic rock kinda guy. Can't handle the blast beats. Plus, he hates Kim Kai. Okay, buddy, follow the noise. Come get some tasty garbage. The rusty bucket's engines flared again, another impossible burst of raw, dirty power. It shot off at a ludicrous angle, deeper into the nebula's swirling depths, still blasting its offensive music and trailing its cloud of special sauce. The Nebula Kraken, After a moment that could only be described as cosmic hesitation followed. Its tentacles lashed out, not with killing intent, but with the clear annoyance of something trying to swat a persistent, noisy insect. The Prudence, large, technologically superior, and presumably a much more satisfying meal, was completely ignored. "Gotta bounce," Eva shouted, the signal already fading. Zitanium Rex about 50,000 clicks, bearing 079er relative your position. Should be clear sailing now. Don't spend all the loot in one place. And tell Lenny I owe him a new coffee machine. Rostover out. The transmission died. The pounding music faded into the nebula's background hiss. The terrifying energy signature of the Kraken dwindled as it chased the rusty bucket into the cosmic gloom. Silence descended once more upon the bridge of the Prudence. It was a heavy silence, thick with unspoken questions and shattered paradigms. The tactical display showed only the swirling nebula and the faint, receding energy trails. Blinking innocuously on a secondary screen were the precise coordinates for the stellar forge, transmitted flawlessly amidst the cacophony. Torvin rotated its upper body segment slowly to face the captain, its usual composure visibly fractured. "Captain. Permission to update tactical database? Proposed new countermeasure against Class 5 void predators, application of high-volume discordant sonics combined with strategic deployment of fermented organic waste. Zorp was frantically reviewing the sensor logs, muttering calculations under its breath. The engine efficiency, it's negative. They were generating thrust through sheer inefficiency, and the sonic weapon, the decibel level exceeded safety limits for geological survey charges. The waste cloud composition. Captain, preliminary analysis suggests trace elements of something Terrans call artificial cheese powder. The Kraken appeared particularly agitated by frequency bands corresponding to Terran electric guitar solos. Xylar retracted 3 of its 4 optical stalks, focusing the remaining one on the blinking coordinates. They had faced certain destruction. Their logic, their technology, their meticulous planning had failed. Salvation had arrived in the form of 4 Terrans in a ship held together by hope and questionable welding, employing tactics derived from a combination of desperation, insanity, and possibly a dare. They hadn't just survived, they had weaponized bad music and garbage against a Lovecraftian nightmare, surfed a space-time anomaly like it was a mild inconvenience, argued about coffee, and still found time to provide accurate navigational data, all with terrifying good cheer. "Log," Xylar commanded, its voice resonating with the unfamiliar frequencies of utter bewilderment. "Record all sensor data pertaining to Terran vessel Rusty Bucket, designation highly anomalous. Cross-reference Terran psychological profiles with keywords, chaos affinity, improvisational genius, reckless endangerment, questionable hygiene standards. Addendum, standard Cathar threat assessment protocols are demonstrably inadequate for this. Species. Recommend formation of Special Xenological Committee for Terran Irrationality Studies. Priority Alpha." Xylar paused, considering. Further addendum, initiate research project into the potential weaponization of Terran musical genres, specifically death metal and anything involving accordions. Also, secure samples of duct tape and artificial cheese powder for materials science analysis. Xylar looked at the bridge crew. Torvin was subtly trying to polish a smudge off its carapace, likely caused by stress-induced secretion. Zorp was attempting to model the Kraken's reaction to the music using advanced Cathar acoustic resonance formulas, resulting only in error messages. Subcommander Torvin, Xylar ordered. "Set course for the target coordinates. Proceed, with enhanced caution. And deploy forward probes to scan for any residual. Special source. Aye, Captain." "And Zorp?" "Yes, Captain." Zorp looked up, slightly frazzled. "Monitor all Terran commercial broadcasts. Alert me immediately if you detect any transmissions involving arguments about coffee machines or the structural integrity of hull sealant. It was, Xylar admitted to its logical Cathar mind, the only way to even begin comprehending the sheer, magnificent, terrifying absurdity of humanity. The Zitanium awaited, but the real prize, the real mystery, was the species that treated the deadly serpent nebula like just another Tuesday afternoon. The universe, Xylar concluded, was far more illogical than Cathar science had ever predicted. And somehow, disturbingly, it was also funnier.